Jean Beliveau. Jean Beliveau was born on August 31st, 1931 in Trois-Rivières, Quebec to Arthur and Laurette Beliveau and was the oldest of 8 children. Mr. Beliveau did not grow up in a sports family. He first laced up his skates at the age of 12 and fell in love with the game from that point on. When he was 15, he played for the Victoriaville Panthers. At that age, he was already a star centerman and had many eyes on him, including the eyes of the Montreal Canadiens general manager at the time, Frank Selke, who already had his mind on signing the young Beliveau to a professional contract. Although the Montreal Canadiens were able to persuade Beliveau to join 2 team tryouts, Jean Beliveau did not want to be a Montreal Canadien. His heart was in the Quebec Senior League. Beliveau dominated this league. His abilities, along with his tremendous work ethic, paid off, and he led the Quebec Senior Hockey League in points in 1953. Despite his success in the QSHL, he still did not show much interest playing professionally. The Canadiens' GM at the time pushed for the league Beliveau was playing in to be turned into a professional league, and in the summer of 1953, the Montreal Canadiens secured their golden ticket to the Stanley Cup. The Montreal Canadiens purchased the entire QSHL and turned it pro, meaning Beliveau had no choice but to play for the Montreal Canadiens. Beliveau signed his NHL contract in the fall of 1953, which made him the highest paid player in the NHL at the time. In 1956, 3 years after he joined the Canadiens, the 6'3" center won the Art Ross Memorial Trophy, awarded to the league's top scorer, as well as the Hart Memorial Trophy, awarded to the league's most valuable player, and he helped the team capture first of 5 consecutive Stanley Cups. That same year, Beliveau was on the cover of Sports Illustrated and was the first NHL player to do so. Belivau's record-breaking numbers were not only evident in 1956. His stats were consistent throughout his career. His 507 career goals and 1,219 points and 1,125 games played is an amazing accomplishment, not to mention doing so being 6'3", 205 pounds, which is an unheard of size back then. To be 6'3" and so smooth on the ice must have been something to watch. Beliveau was the 4th player to score 500 goals in a career and the 2nd to accomplish 1,000 points. His regular season statistics were nothing short of brilliant, and his playoff statistics did not fail to amaze either. As all great players are, they are measured on their playoff statistics. Mr. Beliveau was no exception. In 162 playoff games, he had 176 points and won the Conn Smythe for being the most valuable player in the playoffs. He captained 10 Stanley Cup champion teams and won another 7 cups as an executive, being honored as the record holder for the most Stanley Cup victories by anyone to date. Many say that the C on Belivau's jersey stands for more than just captain. The C in my mind also stands for community, as well as charity. Throughout his career and retirement, Beliveau was willing to help out in any charitable event and was always approachable. Jean Beliveau would receive several hundred fan letters a week, as he personally wrote a reply to each individual letter. After Jean Beliveau retired, he took it upon himself to set up the Jean Beliveau Foundation, which later turned into the Society for Disabled Children. He always put the community before himself and is known as one of the most charitable athletes to date. A year after the Jean Beliveau Foundation was launched, the Prime Minister at the time, Jean Chrétien, proposed to Mr. Beliveau the honor of being the Governor-General of Canada. Beliveau declined the humbling opportunity to stay with his wife Elise and their family. Throughout Jean Belivau's career off the ice, he left an everlasting legacy. Among the many things he was awarded, he earned 7 honorary doctorates from Canadian universities. He was asked to be Senate twice, and was made a Knight of the National Order of Quebec, and was later promoted officer in 2006, and further appointed Grand Officer in 2010. Jean Beliveau was also awarded the country's highest civilian award in 2001, and was named to Canada's Walk of Fame. He impacted life amongst Canadians so much that he had a portrait of himself on a Canadian postage stamp and had a Canadian Pacific Railway station named after him. Not too many Canadian athletes have achieved such a feat. One of the most humbling awards he earned, in my perspective, was in the summer of 2009, when he was named honorary captain of the 2010 men's Olympic ice hockey team. Red Fisher, a writer for the Montreal Gazette, had this quote to say about Beliveau in an article following his death. "Was there ever a player blessed with more grace on and off the ice? A quiet leader who led by example. Always will be this one-of-a-kind man who passed away, always will be remembered that way." This quote is a prime example of the footprint he has left not only in the hockey community, but all over Canada. The hockey world mourned over Mr. Beliveau's death on December 2nd, 2014 at the age of 83. To honor and pay respect to this great Canadian icon, Mr. Beliveau's coffin, draped in the Montreal Canadiens flag, laid in state for 2 days of public viewing at the current home of the Montreal Canadiens, the Bell Centre. Over the 2 days, thousands of people waited hours in line to pay their last respects to Mr. Beliveau. On December 10th, 2014, his body was laid to rest in a national state funeral held at Mary Queen of the World Cathedral. All three major levels of government were in attendance, including the Prime Minister at the time, Stephen Harper, Quebec Premier Philippe Couillard, and Montreal Mayor Denis Coderre. Many hockey greats also attended the funeral, including former teammate Yvan Cormier, who broke down and wept during his eulogy. Guy Lafleur was also there, a player who Jean Beliveau passed the torch to in 1970 upon his retirement. Also noted in attendance was Mario Lemieux, a man compared to Beliveau for his gracefulness on the ice. Crowds of fans endured the poor winter weather outside to view the service on the 2 large TV screens set outside the church. The great Jean Beliveau touched the lives of so many Canadians. Sadly, he is gone, but will not be forgotten. What a true Canadian he was.